spent time as a teammate and opponent. Who are we missing? Who is a guy that's on the ballot right now that Mark Kotsay, as a player in that same era, would say he's a Hall of Famer?
Well, for me, Andrew Jones stands out as a center fielder that played the game, alongside him. I think he's one of 3 that have 10 Gold Gloves in his career. I think it's Mike Schmidt, Ken Griffey Jr., and Willie Mays. So that in itself stands alone. Andrew, I always wanted to play center field as good as Andrew. Andrew played the shallowest center field in the game. He really stands out for me. Todd Helton is another one that I played alongside. We had similar careers. Obviously, he was much better than I was. But, Todd's another one when the game was on the line, when they needed a big hit. I'm sure you asked, I could ask my neighbor across the street, Trevor Hoffman, who was the toughest out to get. And I bet you he'd say Todd Helton. So, Scott Rolen's on the ballot as well. Those are names that are at the top of my mind in terms of deserving to get into the Hall of Fame.
Mark, spring training right around the corner, and I wonder if you spend any time right now thinking about what that opening address is to the squad. Look, you're in a division with Houston. We see what Seattle's doing. Texas went out there and spent some money. What's that coaching kind of philosophy going into spring training with, no woe is me. We got to go out there and do some things, and if we put the right effort out there on the field, we have a chance to shock some people. So how much time do you spend right now thinking about that beginning time of spring training where you address the troops for the first few times?
Yeah, it's funny. We were sitting around the fire last night, Dave Roberts, myself, and Trevor Hoffman. We engaged in some of those conversations. I think it's obviously, time to start thinking about those messages. For us as a ball club, coming off last year, we're looking to make improvements. Our younger players are looking to make improvements, and that's going to be expected from them. We've acquired some new talent this offseason that should help us improve offensively and defensively, also on the mound. So, for us, we understand where we're at. We understand the division we're in. But we took successes last year in small strides in the division, especially against teams like Houston, Seattle, where we competed. And we know we have to play good baseball, fundamentally sound. It's another thing you hear Augie talk about all the time, was that you got to be fundamentally sound and keep ourselves in baseball games, make the plays we're supposed to make. And, hopefully that transcends into to more wins than losses.
Hey, last one for me, Kotz. Little Birdie during the year told me that you put your coaching staff this year through this physical boot camp, this series of workouts. Was that just a spring training thing, or did you have these guys doing stuff all year long?
It's always an option, Matty, to get in that weight room and to work out. But I found it even more difficult this year in managing the club to spend time in that weight room. But Brad Ausmus really was the leader of that regiment. And if you look at Brad, he's kind of a physical specimen. So unfortunately, he won't be back with us this year. But obviously wishing Brad all the best in his future endeavors. So. But yeah, we enjoy working out, Matty. We've got to keep ourselves in physical shape.
Always have. This guy's always been in good shape, man. Even with some of your limitations, Kotz. I know it's not always been easy for you, dude, but my cap is tipped to you. You've always stayed in great shape. Good to see you, man. We appreciate the visit. We appreciate the time. And once again, congrats on that Jay Buhner Lookalike Award. Well deserved. Good work by you. We'll see you at spring training, man.
Thanks, Kotz.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Mark Kotsay joining us on the Tuesday Stove. Back to the Hall of Fame talk when we continue. A quick break. JP Morosi's up there, probably trying to get in the middle of that hot discussion between Jason Stark and Brian Kenny, and he'll separate from it just in time to give us some info on Scott Rolen and Billy Wagner and where they stand on the ballot. There he is, ready to go.
On the veranda.
On the veranda.
The Thinking Fan, weekdays at 2 Eastern on MLB Network.
Welcome back. The 2023 Hall of Fame voting tracker, according to bbhoftracker.com. This is Ryan Thibodeau's brainchild. It's so useful. Look, 191 known ballots have been submitted in for this calculus. That is less than half of the ballots that are anticipated to be cast. But as of now, Scott Rolen and Todd Helton both tracking over the 75% needed for election into Cooperstown.
Last year, there were 394 total.
Okay.
So we got 191 in of around 394.
Got it. So we're at about 50%, and that's what we know as of now. That could certainly stand to change. Historically, it hasn't changed a lot. If anything, the numbers come down, but pretty interesting stuff as we get closer to Hall of Fame time tonight. 4 p.m. Eastern for the show. 6 p.m. will be the announcement. And with that, we send it into Lauren.
Yeah, Maddie, thanks so much. Rolling there at the top as we welcome in JP Morosi live from Cooperstown. You're a happy camper. Good morning again to you. I was reading an article by Joel Sherman talking about the totality of a baseball life, right? And I feel like we talk so much about Scott Rolen and what he did on the field. Tell me more about what he did off.
Lauren, good morning. I love this story about Scott Rolen and his leadership. You learn so much about a player or a person by how they handle adversity. And I want to go back to how Scott Rolen, then only 25 years old, spoke about the firing of his manager, the future Hall of Famer himself, Terry Francona, back in the fall of 2000 when he was still with the Phillies. Quote, "There need to be changes beyond the manager. I think it's unjust to point the finger in one place. I think no matter who comes in, we'll never have someone who cares about the players like him. Terry didn't change for 4 years. And I think he can be happy and proud of that. If caring about players and families and what goes on in the clubhouse means that he's not strong enough, then I want to be like him. That's all right with me." Again, Lauren, you don't often hear on-the-record quotes like that, especially from a player who at that point in time was still in his 20s, relatively early in his career. That just speaks to the leadership that every team that Scott Rolen played on heard from him over the years. And this week, I spoke with Skip Schumacher, of course, the new manager of the Marlins, who is both a teammate and opponent of Scott Rolen. Of course, he was playing for the Cardinals, Scott was, when Skip Schumacher ascended to the major leagues. And Skip said that he still has the first suit that was ever purchased as a major league player was actually bought for him by Scott Rolen, then the veteran player. Wow. So he still, Skip does cherish that suit. But also, I'm going to make this point. Later on in his career, Skip, of course, was still playing for the Cardinals. Scott was at that point in time playing for the Cincinnati Reds. And Chris Carpenter, the veteran pitcher of the Cardinals at the time, bought for Skip a pair of soccer shin guards because Skip was playing second base against Scott Rolen. And Chris Carpenter knew well that the hardest slide into second base in the National League in those years came from Scott Rolen. It didn't matter if you were a former teammate or not. He was coming in hard and heavy there. And so, yes, Skip Schumacher, actually, Lauren, I never knew this before. From that point forward, because of Scott Rolen, Skip Schumacher added soccer shin guards to his uniform whenever he played second base.
Oh, that's so awesome. So interesting. Thanks for sharing. By the way, that described Terry Francona perfectly, that quote that you showed just not too long ago. I feel like we know all these guys are just waiting by their phone, waiting for the call. But Billy Wagner is busy, right? He's still so connected to sports. Tell us more about it, JP.
Yes, Lauren, one of the most unique athletes we've ever seen, certainly in the major leagues or really anywhere in pro sports, because remember this about Billy Wagner. He was a natural right-hander. He was a natural right-hander who, as a young athlete, when he was in middle school, high school, learned how to throw with his left hand because he broke his right arm twice playing football. Let's think about that. He's a natural righty who threw from the left side well enough to be, hopefully, eventually, a Hall of Famer. Now he's sharing that knowledge with the next generation as the baseball coach of the Miller School in the state of Virginia, where Billy had grown up a very modest childhood. He overcame so much as a kid. So passing on the lessons of his own childhood and his career to the players at Miller School, you see it there, what a great teacher he is. He also has some athletes in his family. Here is Will Wagner, his son, who is now a professional baseball player in the Houston Astros organization. Of course, the Astros, one of Billy Wagner's former clubs, but many who know the family say the best athlete of all in the family may well be Olivia Wagner. Here she is from the wing. That was an excellent three-pointer. They're playing for Radford University. Of course, a great Division I basketball program there at Radford. And Olivia, one of the star players at Radford this season. So there she is, of course. Actually, her mother, Sarah, met Billy when Sarah was a basketball player at their alma mater, Ferrum College, a Division III school in Virginia. So Billy Wagner representing so many different people. He's a natural righty who was thrown left-handed at a Hall of Fame caliber, and of course a graduate of a Division III school there, Ferrum College in Virginia, both Billy and Sarah Wagner. So an extraordinary family and well worthy, Lauren, of the Hall of Fame.
You are unbelievable, JP. I don't know how you keep all that straight. We are hours away. We're very anxious. We are waiting and guessing. You need gloves, by the way. We're going to make that happen. Enjoy your day in Cooperstown. Thanks for the time, as always.
Thanks, Lauren. All the best.
We're going to step aside on Hot Stove, take a quick time.
Only on MLB Network.
Well, later this evening, we find out who joins Fred McGriff in the class of 2023. McGriff's 19-year career can best be defined by consistency. He was the first player to have at least 30 and homers for 5 different teams, and Harold Reynolds talked to him about it earlier, about his legacy and his personality.
Fred McGriff. I can honestly say I'm so excited for you, man. Congratulations.
I appreciate it, Harold. You know, Harold, we go way back.
Way back.
It's a pleasure.
Now, to me, let's talk about the nickname Crime Dog. I thought Kirby Puckett gave you that because I remember him on the bus going, man, you look like McGruff, that dog. You know that dog, that Crime Dog. And that's where I thought the name came from. What's your recollection?
That could be a possibility because Kirby was a character. Kirby was he's a special man.
Everybody.
You on these bus trips heading to the stadium and everything. And Kirby's like, Crime Dog!
Hey, Crime Dog! Let's go! Hey, Crime Dog! Fred McGriff takes the grand tour. What a shot by Fred.
My favorite Fred McGriff line. I say, how you doing, Fred? You go, just need 30 good swings. 30 good swings, am I right?
Oh, that was the name of the game for me, because you're going to have your ups and downs and your struggles. But a lot of times you need something to keep you going, keep you in there, even though you may be 0 for 10, 0 for 15, you need something going. And so for me, I was setting goals. Every year, I was going to set those goals. I knew if I get 5 home runs a month, I'll have my 30 homers. Because 30 homers, that was it. If 30 was a number, and to drive in 100 runs, that was special if you get that century mark. So if I hit 17 RBIs a month, I was going to get my 100 at the end of the year.
Oh, look at that. To deep center field, and this ball is gone.
Now, when did that thinking come about? Where did that come from?
Well, I started reading my The Art of Hitting 300 by Charlie Lau. And I just start looking into the numbers and trying to simplify things, because at the end of the day, hitting consistently is the toughest thing to do in all the sports. To go out there and do it day in and out, because everybody can hit, but it's who can be more consistent than everyone else. So it's a struggle. And so you need something to like just keep you going. 3 out of 10. If I get 3 hits for every 10 at bats, you're gonna hit 300, which is really tough to do.
Driven to right field. You can kiss that one goodbye. Way back, out of here.
Your proudest moment of your career?
That's because I've had some great moments. I've been blessed, but well, because baseball is it's a team game and individual game. So from a team standpoint, just winning the World Series in 1995 with the Braves. Individual, possibly the All-Star game, hitting a home run against Lee Smith and winning MVP.
She's gone! When McGriff crosses, it's tied at 7.
That was special because there you're playing against the best of the best. And for you to win MVP, that's very special. And the thing about it is, I tell people, if you're starting in the All-Star game, you're fine, But if you're coming off the bench, sometimes you're like, man, I could have used these 3 days off to go back and relax and take a break. And so that game, I didn't start. And so I didn't come in until 8th, 9th inning or so. And so it was tough. You're sitting there like, oh boy, you're already like, I could have been doing other stuff right now. But finally to come in the game and hit the home run against Lee Smith was it
was worth it.
Yeah.
All those years you didn't get in. How was that hard? How hard was that to watch? Because your numbers warranted it.
Right. Well, you really didn't watch. But what was tough is you go around and you see ex-players, you just see folks, and they're like, "Ah, man, Fred, you got great numbers, and you didn't get elected, and so forth." So that's the toughest part.
Did you ever think you should have played a little longer, maybe got to 500? Because you're at 493. If you had to round 500, they'd have probably just said, he's in. Did you think not having 500 held you back?
Well, you tell yourself, okay, if I hit 493, I'm a good player, but if I hit 500, I'm a great player. Right?
It's 7 homers.
Come on, right? And then, because it's a lot of guys, some guys in the Hall of Fame that don't have 500 home runs, So it was like well.
The Contemporary Baseball Era Players Committee has elected one new member to the Hall of Fame. Fred McGriff, welcome to Cooperstown.
Here's the big question everybody asks. Biggest one of all. Have you started working on the speech yet?
Slowly. I'm getting bits and pieces together, and now with these phones, every time when I'm maybe driving a car or you're just at home and you're watching TV and you jot down little notes, and so it's so many people that you want to thank. Like, okay,
has it been emotional thinking back to people you want to add to the speech? Now you got a chance to really look back. Have you found yourself getting emotional?
Well, just because there's so many people that just over the years, going way back to your Little League baseball days, so you're starting to reflect on a lot of stuff, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to put this in there in my speech. Nah, I'm gonna have to leave this out of my speech, because your time, you don't have a lot of time. So we're gonna wing it. This will be interesting. See, it's in July 23rd at 1:30. So I got the date and I got the time, and these next few months, because before you know it, it'll be here.
Time for one last break. When we come back, Hall of Fame candidate Todd Helton not only showed us some sleight of hand in his career, but when we come back, sleight of foot. And we'll tell you what we mean next on Hot Stove.
Hot